In a recent conversation with Team Goldwolf, Ron shared a movie scene that he said has been one of his favorites. The classic point in Jaws where first blood is drawn. We get his dramatic reaction to the bloodshed emphasized perfectly by the Dolly zoom effect. The Dolly zoom is a tool that most filmmakers don't use often because of its disorienting and noticeable effect. Aside from Jaws, this legendary shot has also been used in some of the most iconic films of all time, including Goodfellas, Poltergeist, Road to Perdition, and of course, Vertigo. This unusual camera trick has taught us so much about filmmaking because of its snazzy effect in many areas like adding more emotion to a shot, understanding lenses, and how to give your scene the visual punchline it deserves. We can trace it back to 1958. And to a Paramount second unit cameraman named Erman Roberts, who was working on the movie Vertigo, directed by a familiar name who soon married himself to the effect, Alfred Hitchcock. After the video, Ron said he had never used the Dolly zoom in his films and asked the question, "When do I use the Dolly zoom in my films?" That question had the entire team thinking about the shot and how we'd never used it in a project before. You can say, which is strange, because we film predominantly horror films, yet we never thought to use this effect. We know it works on a character witnessing a giant shark tearing apart beachgoers, and that the effect itself made the movie Vertigo work as well as it did, so we know the feeling of unsettling is behind what makes the effect work. But in Goodfellas, we see it stray from conveying someone's disoriented reaction to being a setup as unsettling foreshadowing. So we thought it would be interesting to test the limits and flexibility of this effect in different situations. When does the Dolly zoom not work? This question presented a good opportunity for us to not only create a short scene using the technique, but to learn more about the effect and share with you what we've learned during the process. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. This does work because it's a good way to reveal the prop inside the mailbox. But I would disagree. In this shot, I feel the technique is not used properly because the shot is so dramatic that it throws off the frame to follow. As a viewer, I'm now being led to believe that what's inside is going to have a major impact on the story, or even be something horrifying. The tone doesn't match the series of events. You can argue that at this point, the anticlimactic development can now be seen as funny, but it's still a long way to go for even most creative forms of comedy. And even still, the audience is still left believing that there was some mysterious importance in the bag of muffins. What you didn't know was that after Scott opened the mailbox, he improvised the rest of the scene. Knowing that we were heightening the scene with the Vertigo effect, even he naturally felt the urge to play into the drama created by the effect by getting too into the muffins. So far, it seems like a difficult rule to break, just out of sheer reflex alone. So let's try pushing this technique even further. You'll see that we've changed a couple of shots this time around. In this case, the item in the mailbox fits the tone, but now we see the Vertigo effect the entire time in all three shots. At first, we thought this would be way too over the top, but after playing it back with some sound design in post, the team here became split on whether or not it works. Some felt that while it took away from the impact of the blood-soaked letter, it wasn't as completely out of place or nauseating as we thought. On the other side, Ron was firmly against overusing the effect with a less is more ideology. Because cinematography is an art form, you never want to say there's a wrong way to apply a technique. Just remember that there is an implication that comes along with the dolly zoom. You're fueling your audience's theories whether or not you intend to. Maybe the person opening the mailbox is on drugs or is experiencing psychosis from an unexpected traumatic episode. It's an inspired trick to pull out and an inherently interactive effect that asks your audience to feel what the character is feeling. So you typically want to make it count. After days of testing the effect, what we as a team have concluded is that, technically speaking, it's not an easy technique as you'd think to pull off. I couldn't help but to think how this technique would work with a smaller camera with built-in image stabilization and autofocus. Maybe that would have been more manageable. Lastly, you have to have depth in your shot in order to see the background parallax. Otherwise, you won't notice the background pushing or pulling back. Overall, I'm really happy with our results and happy to use this technique in more of our work to come. What's your thoughts on the effect? Do you think differently than we do? How would you use the effect in your films? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks to all my supporters who sub to this channel. If you like this video, please hit that like button and ring that bell to be notified when new videos drop. I appreciate all of you. Until next time we meet, go film, have fun, make killer visuals. Jason Goldwolf, signing out.